7 names, no games as I run it down the line. We got Kenny Ken, put 100 on the tees with the streak for the cash. He ESPN. Seth Curry with the shot. The prodigy. In reality, he's more like Seth, but he's all we got. Up next is Gentleman Jack, better known as Junior Blue. We told him not to do it anyway, but he did what he do. To his right is Devin, that dude, L-Dad or Dirt Ass Dan. Just don't ask him a question, cause then he'll answer your question with another question, and then he'll add another question on top of that question. Damn. And I'm Red O, the Buck Wild Problem Child.
Flow Butter, aka John Cutter.
It's the league ambassadors, and we playing to win. At the 2-yard line, and make no mistake, we running it in. Pete Carroll, we see you.
Welcome to 32 Kings Road, hosted by the league ambassadors. I'm Ambassador Kenny Ken, and it is my pleasure to be here today with my brothers. This is a special episode of 32 Kings Road. We're going to do a London recap because there was just so much that happened on that trip.
Funky monkeys came.
A couple times.
As a reminder, you can follow us everywhere on social media. Our handle is @TheLeagueAM. That's Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Also, please check out our website, theleagueam.com, as well as our YouTube channel, League Ambassadors. Please subscribe to that channel. I'm super excited to be here. Dad, what you sipping on, sir?
I'm glad to be back.
Yeah.
Pockets a little lighter, thanks to the fine people at Norwegian Airline. But what I'm sipping on is and what you can bank if the league ambassadors go to a London game. Whichever team's bar is the Admiralty, they getting fucked up. We're 2 for 2 for that.
Junior Blue.
Well,
Let's test his quick thinking skills.
on the Admiralty, what I'm sipping on is the fact that the Admiralty waters down their drinks.
Oh my God.
Because we had some Diplomatico rum, and guess what? It came out like water.
H2O.
So maybe that's why 27-3 and 44-7 has been the team's TLA scores.
Yeah.
Wow.
Red O, what you sipping on, sir?
If you want to look like a big dog when you out there, go to the Residence Inn, cause in Kensington, because you will not pay Kensington prices.
That's so funny. Everyone was like, "Yo, y'all in Kensington?
Ooh, clutch my pearls."
Shout out to Marriott. Come holler at us. I am sipping on wings, specifically chicken wings. If you put 4 ambassadors at a table and say you got to eat 100 wings in 15 minutes, we gonna dust you off in 13.
And I wasn't even there.
Yo.
Kev, what you sipping on, sir?
Gentlemen, I feel like I just saw you guys. Glad to be back, like Devin said. Before we get into the real thing, I just want to mention that while in London, I learned that Leslie Michael James is the greatest human being that I've ever met. I mean, he cool, y'all. He cool. But when Let's Go Overseas,
He go all the way over the seas.
he go overseas, bro.
4 a.m.
My man turned into Leslie over there. It was a great time. But we're gonna sip on today is the opportunity that we got to meet, of course, great people over there, but specifically a chance that both myself and Wendy, good friend Wendy with the distillery, got to interview Tony Husband, who is a sports broadcaster in the BBC. He covers a wide variety of sports, but of course the NFL. So with our mission here at 32 Kings Road is, of course, to bridge that gap between American sports and culture and the fans over there in the UK. So we got to talk to Tony, kind of get his his take on how the NFL is translating over in the UK. We asked him a bunch of things, of course, starting with his football love story. He confessed that he is a Raiders fan, unfortunately. But said that he loved the team early on because of that bad boy mystique that came with the classic Raiders. We also discussed a list of other things like how a team could move to the UK, the differences for him in covering the NFL both on and off the field, if that changes his journalistic approaches, and what he thought he actually brought to the forefront, his thoughts on the whole Colin Kaepernick situation, and how people in the UK perceive him compared to how it is here in America. So I believe Mike has the clip ready, so we're going to show you guys a segment of the interview we did with Tony, and hope you guys enjoy it.
Well, you did speak about growth, and obviously the NFL is trying to grow here in the UK. How does covering the NFL differ from the Premier League, whether it's your personal experience or coverage as a whole?
Well, they're very different in as far as how they're covered over here. The NFL is a big, growing, popular sport in this country. But what I'd say it still is a minority sport to the mass audience. We wander out into Southampton on a morning, and you won't find too many people who would say they're big NFL fans, but they may have an awareness of it. And maybe the big challenge that the sport faces in the next few years is how does something that's got a very good core audience, a big cult following, that sells out Wembley Stadium every time, every year, every game, but how does it maybe start to get into the mainstream a bit, so that when I come in and I pick up the big national newspapers of the day in my office, and I'm looking at the soccer stories, the cricket stories, the rugby stories, you won't see much in the mainstream about the NFL. So it is reported in specialty, so, special sites. NFL UK will be a place that a lot of UK fans would go to, and a lot of UK fans will read all the NFL sites from America, the MMQB, Sports Illustrated, all those kind of places.
What do you think it's going to take to get the NFL to that position here in the UK? Because I think a little bit from a perception outside, it's grown quite a bit. I mean, from the first game maybe 11 years ago, where it was one game, and it's sold out now to 3 games annually, and they're all selling out. That's quite a bit of growth. What do you think it'll be the thing that'll turn it over?
I think the only thing that can turn it over would be to put a team here. I think that's the only way we will change what is it's a popular sport for a minority of people. There's a massive audience. So it's a sport that's very popular amongst the kind of millennial audience. It's a sport that's so social media friendly. It's so friendly. If I compare how I can access my NFL information now with how when I was a 7-year-old kid back in the 1980s who started watching it on our 4th TV channel in the UK, and the games were shown a week after they were played, but it didn't matter because we had no idea what had happened in them. We had no real way of finding out. But now the information is all at your fingertips. It's all there. But how are we going to kind of it's about making the people who aren't interested. And I think that's the case with a lot of sports in some ways. And I've changed my view on this. My view was always, I don't know about an actual franchise in London or the UK or even Europe, because we all have our teams, we all love the league, we've grown up with it in a way, and will we change? Will we suddenly become London fans? But now my view, I think, is having seen how they just consistently sell Wembley out, I think the only way we're going to take it any further is for London to have a team and in a bigger investment in the league.
Well, logistically though, how would that work?
It's going to be challenging, isn't it? And it's difficult because the other thing is, if you put a London team in the league, it needs to be good. Right. Because you can't put a team here that's going to do a Cleveland Browns for 3 years. It could be, and I think that is the biggest concern I would imagine that the NFL would have is, once you do it, what's your get out policy if you have to get out of it without it being a big public relations fiasco?
How do you find an owner? Do you think you need a local owner here, or can it be an American owner that brings a team over?
I think the general wisdom is that we already have our owner in Mr. Khan.
Yeah.
Maybe. There's a big thing going on in the UK at the moment, which is actually the venue for the NFL games this year, Wembley Stadium.
Yeah.
Famous Wembley Stadium. Shahid Khan owns Fulham Football Club in the Premier League, and he is trying to buy Wembley Stadium. And that is a big story in this country because it's seen as the kind of spiritual home of English football. In fact, actually, the Football Federation, the Football Association of England, they actually haven't owned it for that long in historical terms. He wants to pay £600 million to buy it, but it's a divisive issue. But I think if he buys it, I think we could see he will be, if whether it's the Jags in themselves, but I think he will have a big involvement in it. I don't see why he would buy Wembley. Sure, he's a businessman and it would make money for concerts and whatever, but I'm not sure he would do it unless he had a bigger plan.
stake in it.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to focus a little bit more in regards to just your approach as far as the game goes. So even though there isn't as much scoring in soccer, there's football.
Yeah.
There's action for the entire 90 minutes, whereas in
Yeah.
NFL, game could last over 3 hours, but there's only like 11 minutes of actual game time. So does that change the way that you cover the game, just the way that football here is played?
Well, they are so different, the sports. They are so different, and everything about them is different, from the match day experience to the presentation to the reporting. It's totally different, isn't it?
Yeah.
And soccer. Our soccer is, people are used to that kind of constant, high pressure, high intensity kind of game. The reporting of it is very instant. Well, the reporting of it is probably but it's people's instant reactions, and we still get that with the NFL. There is so much written about soccer in this country. Follow-up articles for days after games. But I suppose it's difficult to say. The two sports are so different that the reporting styles will be different. But I guess some of the general principles remain the same. You're condensing the information of the match and reporting what happened. And in fact, when we've done, I can remember when we used to do radio shows with the NFL Sunday nights. You'd wrap up a game in much the same way you would wrap up an English soccer game. You'd say, instead of somebody got a hat trick, you'd say Graham Gano kicked 3 field goals and Cam Newton threw 2 touchdowns in a 24-7 win for the Panthers or something. So the actual reporting style, I think you fall back into your journalistic principles. It's pretty much the same, but the sports are poles apart in the cultural way that they fit.
Really, really good interview. You can check out our YouTube channel, League Ambassadors, for the full interview. Kevin did a really good job, along with Wendy from the distillery. Shout out to the distillery. One of the things he talked about in that interview was that Mr. Shad Khan, owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, was in conversations to purchase Wembley Stadium.
Past tense.
We now, exactly, it's now been reported that he's pulled out of that conversation. How do you guys feel? Where do you think that leaves the state of the NFL with London?
Before that, I thought it was a fait accompli. Like, I just knew if he got that stadium, there would be a team in London. Now I'm not so sure.
Well, I think that if he was to get that, it was going to be the Jaguars, right? But they are fully invested in the Tottenham Stadium. So the NFL is not going to put just a stadium specifically built for football and not utilize it. So whether or not it's a full-fledged team, they're going to continue this series for a very, very long time.
And on game day, while we were at Wembley, you got some good information, right?
Yeah. Well, the reason why it was delayed was similar to how the Rams and Chargers stadium was delayed due to rain. So they pushed that back. But a gentleman there, I can't remember what team he roots for, but he was telling me that he had friends that worked in construction on the Tottenham Stadium and had great insight. And the fact that the NFL is paying peanuts for the rights to play their games there means that they're pimping the UK.
And by peanuts, we're talking about $14 million.
Yeah, so that's all that they're paying them annually. So I feel like with Khan pulling out, it's kind of a power move for the NFL because now they can pick and choose what they want to do with that Tottenham Stadium.
And I think the Khan pulling out was also a power move for him too, because one of the reasons he pulled out is because they don't. There's a committee that has to vote on it, and the committee is basically stating some people don't want it to happen. It's the shrine to their football, to soccer.
Exactly.
So
that's what Tony talked about too.
So they don't necessarily, half the community doesn't want to sell it to him because now the NFL really has a foothold in the UK. And they're using their shrine to play NFL games. So Khan basically backed out saying, hey, until you guys actually want to sell it, I'm pulling my offer.
Right.
So that was his move.
So do you see it as more of like a negotiation tactic?
Yes.
Because it was only his bid was only for majority, right? It wasn't for sole.
No, it was just majority.
It was just majority. Kev?
But for the Jags specifically, though, I mean, I know they were banking on the the revenue from playing in London to help subsidize the fact that they're playing in Jacksonville, it's a small market team. That where did they go from here? Because as well as Jacksonville's playing as of late, and we'll see how that window for them, closes or stays open by the end of the season. What does that mean for them in terms of viability and staying in Jacksonville? Because I don't think that city can continue to support the team in the way that Khan wants it to. Otherwise, they wouldn't be planning for this investment in London. And I think that the target date for the NFL for a team in London was like 2022 or something like that. So, I mean, I do agree with what Omar said. It's just going to be interesting to see what the next step is for the NFL in terms of how they get their brand overseas.
My only question to that is, with regards to where does Jacksonville go? The boogeyman is gone now. There's 2 teams in LA. So what's the sexy city that you can use as leverage to say, I'm going to move there? What city doesn't have a football team right now?
Yeah, I mean the only they maybe Toronto, but they've got their own issues with Buffalo.
Right.
So it is London looks like it would be the next spot, and you've got to wonder. For me, the thing that makes this interesting is I don't know that there are very many, if any, owners outside of Khan that would necessarily be enthusiastic about taking their team over there permanently. And we also know that it is hard as hell to get those 32 owners to split that pie a little bit more to add 1 or 2 more teams.
Yep.
So a new franchise I don't think is the way that it's going to come about.
I think what Dev said actually has a lot of merit because one thing living in LA, you realize how much a part of LA not having a team was a part of the NFL's game plan. That was how a lot of teams got new stadiums.
Yep.
And that's gone now. And they can use London as a chip for teams if they start pushing that. I mean, they haven't started doing it yet.
Yeah.
But there's got to be some teams who are coming up on needing a new stadium.
With that being said, do you think that aside from London and Mexico City, that they'll start doing more international stuff like Vancouver, Germany? Because Germany has a big football presence.
Which we found out. Yeah. No, I think that's the thing is they could continue. The NFL really, they got a lot of different options. Because it's still an unanswered question in my mind as to whether or not it is best if they put a team over there. Or do you just continue this sort of all-star format and then try and, as you say, Devin, maybe expand it to other countries? I think the NFL is winning regardless. So it will be interesting to see. I just thought it was curious timing that we had just come back from over there having this discussion, which is a recurring discussion that we have whenever we go over there, is talking about the prospects of the NFL in London on a permanent basis, and then come back and Mr. Khan sort of pulls out of that deal.
Then they would have to build it differently in the UK if they continue to keep doing it because, the thing about the NFL is it's your team. You pick your team, you stick with your team. Like if you're going to bring just different teams there, people will start to not be invested if they like a team and their team's not coming.
Or like what Tony said, it prevents you from getting the mainstream fan, the fan that's not a diehard NFL person, because there's no allegiance. There's no real built-in allegiance. One of the big things that happened for us was that we got media passes.
We can't show them, though.
We got some actual media passes. And
we
so
was the spook by the door, but they let us in.
They should have never gave me money.
That's funny. And I think we represented ourselves well. We had an opportunity to have conversations with Seattle Seahawks coach Pete Carroll. I was reminded on a few different occasions when I mentioned just to folks that I know we should have somehow been able to incorporate our intro with talking to Pete Carroll because he's definitely prominently mentioned in our theme song.
I don't know if that would have went over well the first time.
No.
Maybe at the hotel when we
right, exactly. But we was able to talk to Coach Pete Carroll. We got a question into quarterback Russell Wilson, to Mr. Doug Baldwin. So yeah, check us out. Coach, with the roster retool of the offseason and now sitting here at week 6 with a chance to get back to 500, how would you assess the competitive nature of your team and also your ability to connect that part of your coaching vision with this squad?
I think I assessed that really well. Would you like to hear it?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we're kind of in I think, mode of we're improving. We're getting better and they can all feel it. And we have set a style in motion a while back that we have kind of felt like we're starting to capture now, that makes everybody feel, kind of in a good way that we're moving and we're getting better. We had 2 off weeks. The first 2 weeks we didn't play well, and we've come back around and feel like we're finding a little bit now. We need to see if we can keep going. It's only as good as this next week that we play. It's really about playing really tough and physical and running the football well, playing good defensive teams. That's what we're trying to get done, and we're aware of that. We're really disappointed that we didn't contribute to a win last week, but we still can feel the style, and so that's important for us. We're going to try to make a big push here through the middle of the season and see if we can get about half to a point. And like you said, getting back 500 is really important.
Coach, staying with the theme of being away and then coming back, can you talk a little bit about maybe some of the challenges that your coaching counterpart, John Gruden, is experiencing because you were away from the pro game, came back after being at USC? Just what are some of the challenges that are common when you're faced in that situation?
Well, more than the challenges, I think it's about perspective. You see things differently when you come back. When you go to some place and you go away and you come back, just like we're talking about Ken. And I think it enriches your appreciation and enlightenment about really how things are. And sometimes you get stuck, seeing things in one manner. And the change is good for you. In John's case, we have to talk to John. I can't speak to him, but he has had such a big experience outside of football with so many players and outlooks and perspectives and things. I would think that he sees things differently now. I don't know that, but that's what I would think he would. And like I said before, I think that broadens your scope, and I think it makes you more aware in different ways than maybe you ever thought you would be. That I think brings insights that you couldn't get otherwise. So. I'm not speaking for him because I don't know, but I would think that would be likely the case for John too. He's a great football coach, a great football guy in general, and has always been so close to the game, never wavered from that connection to the game. And in time, as they put this new program together, that will all show up. He's a fantastic football coach.
Russ, given the physical parallels between you and Drew Brees, which have been talked about ad nauseum, do you gain any new inspiration with his recent milestone achievement, particularly as you lead the Seahawks into sort of a new version of your organization?
Yeah, I think that Drew's always been an inspiration. I've watched him since really high school, college, gotten to know him over the past several years. One of my coolest experiences, one of the things I remember the most was my rookie year. I was able to go to the Pro Bowl my rookie year and to go, to be alongside, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Eli Manning, those guys, and Ben Roethlisberger too, I believe it was. But Drew and I were on the same team, and Eli was too. But to be around Drew, speaking of Drew in particular, just to see how he approached the game, and just obviously we have commonalities in our size and everything else, but I think the love of the game we both share. And so he's been probably the biggest inspiration in my life in terms of watching a quarterback. How he plays the game, so I have a lot of respect for him. I love how him and his family are so close too as well. Obviously, I know Brittany too, and their kids and everything else. And he's been a good friend since that time. He's a tremendous football player. How he sees the field and everything else. For me, I always have high goals too. I want to get the best to ever do it. Hopefully, I just take one day at a time, and have that mentality, and just continue to know that it's a process, it's a progression. I think I've been fortunate to have several successful years starting off, and just want to keep going and just keep my head down, keep working, and just have that love for the game. And just every time I step on the field, my goal is to give the Seattle Seahawks a great chance to win the game. And I've been fortunate to be able to be around some great players and great teammates and great coaches, and so I'm grateful for that every day. And I always say this: I'm one of 32 men in the world that get to do what I get to do, and Drew's one of those guys I really look up to in that sense.
Makes it easier on the quarterback and the receivers, especially when the guys are in the box, 8 in the box, and having to respect our run game. It's going to open some things up in the passing game. I think that as we go along in the season,
you gave the Rams probably your toughest game of the season, their toughest game of the season last year. You play them again in 4 weeks. Do you feel like you're almost at that level where you're ready to challenge in the NFC West?
We always feel like we're going to be able to challenge in the NFC West. You didn't come here thinking that you were going to give a poor interview, did you? Right. So you're going to have to come in with the proper mindset whenever you compete. So we never think that we're out of the race. We always think that we have a dog in the fight. So we're never going to think otherwise.
Doug, after going undrafted out of Stanford, how do you continue to play with that chip on your shoulder, even after you've proven what you've been doing as age?
It's a good question. It changes, right? So my priorities at the very beginning of my career were very selfish. They were all about me. And I think at this point, it's about my future. It's about what comes after me, and especially about laying a foundation for my family, my future family. I don't have kids yet, but I hope to have kids in the future, and it's about laying a foundation for them. So my mindset is that I'm motivated, to do well, to play well, to help this team win. Because it's going to put food on the table for my future kids, and that's that priority is well above anything else right now. Thanks for the question.
So that was media day. Hey man, Kev, Doug was staring a hole right through you, brother.
Intense.
Yo, he was. That dude is locked in, and I think especially when he started talking about his bread and what he wants the tail end of his career to be about. I believe him when he speaks.
What's his contract situation? Because that answer sounded to me like
it should be coming up soon.
Like it must be coming up soon, and I'm not cutting the Seahawks no favors.
And it was almost like what happened with what's his name? Like really locked him in. What's his name?
Thomas.
Earl Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
Like that locked in his focus.
I mean, his answer was basically, well, first of all, he was like, "That's a good question." The answer is secure the bag.
What got me, he was talking about how he was selfish in the beginning of his career, and then he was like, "Now I'm all about the money." So
I think I understand what you said. I think what he meant was
that's the type of answer a Stanford cat gives.
I was selfish as far as not thinking about my
future kids.
Yeah, that he doesn't have yet, but he want to make sure they set up right.
I also think he was saying I was selfish because I was just thinking about stats and wanting to prove myself because I was, drafted, I think 5th round, or whatever the case may be.
It was undrafted.
Now, undrafted, yeah.
That's right.
Now I am.
That was the question.
Now I am. Thank you, Kevin. Now I am established. They know who I am. So now I want you to pay me what I want. Point blank.
And
period.
I'm the onlyest one you got.
And I'm the onlyest one. Right. And then he probably went out and had a 40-yard touchdown in Sunday's game.
You can't play.
Right.
Yeah. You're trash.
He was super intense. I mean, he was respectful, but I think you saw it when he was walking away from an interview and someone asked for a picture. He was like, "Nah, don't do those. I might break your camera."
I might break the camera.
And that could be taken 2 different ways. Like, I'm not attractive, or I might snatch the shit out your and break it.
It's kind of how his answer turned out.
What was also cool about Media Day, though, was that we got a chance to meet the Birmingham. I'm gonna get their mascot wrong, but it's a collegiate football team. They were there,
which is very interesting.
They were in there in conjunction with the NFL's Play 60. There were some young kids that were gonna come in, and they were basically gonna be coaching them up for the day. We met a female football player.
Middle linebacker.
Middle linebacker. Fullback. Middle linebacker.
About that action.
Boss. And it was just, it was one of those moments where, and we had several of these the day before the games at the pep rallies at Admiralty Bar, and then the Seahawks, they're at their pep rally. and then the day of the game at the Green Man and at Wembley, where we're able to have these one-on-one conversations with fans of the game of football, fans of the NFL. And I think that on this particular trip, it was all sort of crystallized at 4 a.m. on a double-decker bus.
As everything always is. 4 a.m.
4 a.m.
A couple times.
We met a young cat, 17 years old. And
old is the right word, because that kid was not 17. Yeah.
His social media is
sl.edj. That's on Instagram.
Yes, we had a couple of different nicknames for him. Andrew Wiggins. Devin doesn't like this one, but Young Basquiat. And I think when you listen to the interview, you'll see why. One, why we do what we do. Two, just how knowledgeable and passionate folks in the UK are, not only about the game of football, but about American sports in general. So yeah, check this out.
The way they play their sports is just it's easy to engage with this. Like they do exciting shit on the field sometimes. Sometimes. And you're watching highlights. If you're watching highlights, not because remember I'm a highlight type of nigga. I'm not.
You're not gonna watch the whole game.
Type of nigga.
Now the games come on at what, like 3 a.m. You're not gonna.
Kid, I hope you got that. I hope that you got that. I'm a highlight type of nigga.
You're really that. You're really that.
So time out. So with basketball.
Which basketball? What's your team? Be careful. Be really careful.
NBA basketball.
He said the Falcons.
No, be honest. Be honest. You ain't got a lot of us.
Timberwolves were good to watch before. Was that Butler started?
Because he looks like Andrew Wiggins. He looks like Andrew Wiggins.
Fucking shit up. Butler started fucking shit up.
That was savage.
I think that the Lakers, if LeBron could do some good shit with Lonzo,
stop.
That could be good to watch.
Stop.
Because Lonzo's a talented nigga with the tutelage of LeBron.
Right.
LeBron's coming into his veteran years. That could be some good shit to watch.
I like him.
But I think that basketball's moving too much into how football is, and where it's like there's a couple teams in each district which are like they're like two teams and all these teams are fucking sick, and they're sick because they demolished their competition, but only due to like the work of their stars.
Oh my God!
If you can't get this, if you put one of those stars into a team with average players and they actually had to build up their dynasty by themselves, you'd see a much better game. Because you see teams built around these individual players, and these individual players giving their knowledge to the team, be like some symbiotic shit where you'd be like, oh shit, like who is actually the best nigga at this game? Like who is really balling out here?
He said nigga symbiotic. That's my guy.
So let me ask you this: how difficult is it for you to watch live American sports? Because like I said, football comes on.
You either have to pay a lot of money to get good streaming services, or you have to stay up proper late. And even so, you have to pay for Sky to watch it, or some dumb shit like that. You'd have to stay up till at least 3 a.m., 2 a.m., and then you have to be staying up till 4 if you want to watch the game. And that's it. Yeah, I've never stayed up to watch a game. Some of my friends do though.
So the next thing is how does the U.S. how do these teams make this easier? Right?
Yeah, how do they solve this?
Because you can't change the times, but you have to make it more affordable. It's got to be more affordable. YouTube, or you end up because how social media is, you'll find out instantly when something happens.
That's the
But
play.
it's gonna take you days to watch the whole thing.
If you have good highlight clips on YouTube, and then someone watches those highlight clips and puts that highlight clip on their Instagram, it's going to be like, where did you watch that video? And they're going to always want to go back to the source if they're interested and engaged enough by your initial idea.
Right.
So
who's
right.
putting that content?
Well, NBA already does. Actually, I think both NBA and NFL do it, where you can watch like what's happened in a game,
but from one consistent source.
Yeah,
Who's the one consistent source?
Well, it's YouTube. It's YouTube.
But Instagram comes out quicker.
Right. But Instagram has the minutes restriction.
True.
YouTube does it.
Twitter does it quick. Right.
How long does Twitter have a minutes restriction?
But what audience uses Twitter?
Unless you have a business.
Do you guys
listen?
Hold on. So wait, who uses?
Look at the audience that uses Twitter. Who are you going to be able to interact with? Who both likes basketball in different countries and uses Twitter? And uses Twitter as their main source of saying, okay, I've seen something here, I'm going to maybe go and see where this is in other places. That's what it's all about, is how are your audience going to see the product you put out? Not how are you going to put that product out to your audience. You have to take the seat of who am I selling this to?
So time out. So when you wake up the next day, hold on, time out. So when you wake up the next day and you want to watch Lakers highlights or Falcons highlights, where do you go to find it?
Straight, and I'll type in 2018 Falcons versus or fucking 76ers versus on YouTube, and I'll watch the game highlights.
Yeah.
And it'll be there the day after.
That day, because they both do it. They both have, it's like 5-6 minutes where you can see what is happening in the game, and they will show all the moments, both NBA and NFL. It is YouTube.
Right.
And people say, back home, people do say that. They say it's still YouTube. YouTube is still the king. To get what he's talking about as far as watching all of the highlights, like true highlights, like the high points of the game, it is YouTube.
It's just they've made it fucking hard to make money on it, and that's why people don't put as much time in. When it was easy to make money off YouTube, people were like, "Oh fuck it, I'll spend 3 hours of my day editing a video."
Yeah, but
now
the leagues have the leverage, so they can actually get money from YouTube to be like, okay, we'll give you exclusive rights to our highlight shit. They have the ability to do that. I don't know that they know. Listen, from a digital media perspective, the leagues are behind. Not only are the leagues are behind, but the channels are behind. So ESPN's behind, Fox Sports is behind. The leagues are just now catching up. The move, to your point, is to go to YouTube, NBA, go to YouTube and say, hey, listen, we're going to make it so that exclusively we give you all of the highlights to all of our games. And then that cracks the international
How
market.
would you get that conversation going?
Oh, it's easy. They could do it. They just don't know it yet. That's just point blank period.
That's
They
the
don't
thing.
know
What
it
you
yet.
just said, I don't think people back in the States who make these decisions
Which is why this
know
is an
these
interesting
things.
conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You have an IG?
Yeah.
What is it?
SL.EDJ.
So you talked about Michael Jordan. Right.
Michael Jordan.
No, you talking about Michael Jordan, but is there? Let me ask you this: is there a current player in either sport? No, the football, basketball that you rock with like heavy like that? No, just Jordan all day.
Because in the UK we play football. Football is very, very, very it scrutinizes the physical ability of a player and how the positioning of a player. So when a football player watches Michael Jordan play basketball and they see the way he goes up for the dunk and the technique and how he's just in the air for so long, you sit there and it's like,
what the fuck, right? Right.
It's like, how is a human doing this shit right now?
We're still asking those questions.
Like it doesn't.
Which is why it baffles me that.
That was a lot of fun, right, Redo?
Well, you got a lot of fun.
We should have put a disclaimer before.
Oh yeah, did you get that on tape? Hey, did you get that?
Fool.
Yes. Shut up. Hey, the best thing about what we do is the surprise that we still get because we some loud Americans getting on the bus at 4 a.m. And he quietly shut us up. He had us listening to what he had to say in that story, but it was the interaction, man. It's the information we get is a beautiful thing, man, because that exactly what we are about was that bus ride at 4 a.m.
Yeah, I just couldn't believe how quick and sharp he was to when I think we didn't find out his age until the end of the conversation. I was fully expecting him to say 23, and I was like, oh, it's the sharp young brother. When he said 17, I'm like,
then the next question is, what the fuck are you doing out at 4 a.m.?
It was a Friday night.
Hey, living his best life.
and what was his buddy doing that was
not living his best life?
He was taking care of him. But I thought it was really, really dope to see how someone is still entrenched in that American sport culture and what they have to go through to actually absorb it.
Right. That's, to me, is always the biggest takeaway when you have these one-on-one conversations. They don't have the conveniences that we have in terms of accessing American sports. Like, they got to watch it either late at night or really early in the morning. They're
delayed.
Are delayed, right? They get it late. Like and to know what's going on, to be so locked in.
What got me? They're big on highlights. Their whole thing is highlights.
He told you he was.
He told you what type of highlight he liked.
So I mean, that's what gets me to with the time difference and games coming on at 3:00 in the morning. They are big on YouTube, big on Instagram, looking at highlights. I mean, SportsCenter gets no love because they are all about highlights on social media.
Yeah. Right. Which is
But
instructive.
that's the opportunity, though, right? That's like, okay, we were the first. I won't say we're the first ones, but we're the first line of defense in terms of making that connection. So now that we know, hey, NFL, there are people over there who you claim to want to connect to. This someone who's actually there. You have to create a platform and opportunities for these people to follow the game that you claim you want to introduce them to.
Or we can just keep doing what we're doing and keep doing it better, right? I'll stay with you, Kev. Give me your most memorable takeaway from this year's trip in London.
That I can say on camera. We all have families and parents that love and watch our show. I would say it's those interactions like you know, young Bosky out on the bus, like my man who we met on the train who was from the West Coast, who moved out there with his son. Just the fact that we're seeing that what we do, not just us as a group and as a podcast, but as a culture, what we do as a people, how it resonates overseas, how everyone, may love it on the surface, but we still control culture, control what's cool, control what dictates what people wake up in the morning and care about. So like you said, we're on the right path. I think we're doing the right thing. And I think it's imperative that we as a people, whether you're involved in sports or not, to know that there's a connection over there that we really need to tap into.
Redo, pick a Jay-Z song.
Let's talk about that while we're here.
It's my biggest takeaway.
So, what Ambassador Redo is referring to, I
tried to tell him,
is our very first night.
He didn't want to know.
We went out on Friday night. We were told to go to a hip hop karaoke bar. We got there kind of late,
which was a good recommendation.
Yep. And we were told that there was no room left. And, you know, I put on the bleeding heart. We came from America, you know, let us get on. He's like, let me see what I can do. They came back 3 minutes later. It was like, we got a spot. So we had to pick a song. So our photographer, which we're going to refer to as Chauncey Ken.
Shout out to Chauncey Ken. Ken for the win.
Said
he is with the shenanigans all day, every
with
day.
The shenanigans.
He's with the shenanigans.
And he suggested, which we thought was a great idea,
except for the one person who
denied.
You
didn't say anything.
I did say something.
Well, wait. He suggested back that ass up, because everyone knows that song. We thought, and it gets the crowd going. And so I was like, okay, bet that makes so much sense, and we have symmetry here. Kenyon, you're obviously Lil Wayne. Chauncey Ken could be
Manny Fresh.
And it was like, Omar is definitely Juvenile.
Of course.
He started it off.
Except for Omar said he's not.
Omar did not take over for the 9-9.
All you have to know is when they called our names, the league ambassadors, he was sitting on the little step with his head down, like, fuck.
All I saw was Logan.
Right. But
All I saw was Logan.
Regardless of the fail that I accomplished, I will always get up and do it.
Well, let's talk about the fail. So you start,
you're working with some ass.
27 seconds in, he says, I don't know what I'm doing yet. And London,
I think you know. Say it again.
I don't know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't know. He said
I don't know the words yet.
I don't know the words yet.
The words yet.
Yeah, the words yet. And in London, they don't have the words up on a screen. They give them to you handwritten. So what he did in spectacular fashion was he threw the words on the ground like he was shooting dice, and then he stuck the mic,
which nobody would take.
And then walked away. And then Kenyon grabbed it and was like, "Well, fuck it. I guess I got to do this now." So, and then at the end of that, he was like, I told y'all to pick a Jay-Z song. But they didn't have a good Jay-Z song, though.
But rest assured, we turned the place.
It was a save.
Yeah,
it was.
It was going bad.
That is why boy bands fail. Hey, Omar, to give you a Jay-Z quote that applies to you, it's tough being Bobby Brown. You Bobby then, you gotta be Bobby now.
I'd have been all right.
Yes, it did. It transitioned into FDT movement. And if you don't know what that means, just Google, what's his name? YG.
Yes.
That song came on. We definitely
Coast,
we definitely brought a little bit of 60s crip in there as well.
Just a little bit.
We turned the place out. It was all right. We made it do what it do as the league ambassador should do.
It was a cool spot though, man. It was a nice atmosphere.
Shout out to Doug Martin's mom, Leslie.
Shout out.
Dev, most memorable takeaway.
My
for
most
you?
memorable takeaway was at the Green Man. Ryan's dad,
Keith. We got a name.
Damn.
Keith.
Why you keep stealing my shit?
I don't know if it might not be, but his friend that came down with him, the Tampa Bay fan.
Yes, yeah.
I can't remember his name, but I'm sure we got it on camera. Just I had like a 45-minute conversation with this dude, and like he was so engaging, and like just the way that he became a fan and his story and how knowledgeable he is already, accompanied with how he sees what's going on here in America and the conversation you can have with, I mean, he was probably like mid-40s white British dude. You know, I'm a late 30s black dude from America. Like, and we were just able to have, I could have talked to that dude for hours.
East Baltimore, to be specific.
East Baltimore.
Yeah, but to your point, Dev, like, it seems like the rest of the world
Go ahead.
knows what's going on better than the folks that are from here and that live here. You can take that how you want to
Y'all
take
gonna
it.
keep making me quote the Remember the Titans. He ain't want to know. They know what's going on.
Junior Blue?
Mine was Ryan's dad, Keith, and other Raider fans, where they were kind of split on the Khalil Mack thing. Half the Raider fans were like, hey, it had to happen.
True.
The other half were like, fuck, why do we have to trade him? We didn't have to. So that was like my biggest takeaway. And also, 4 a.m. to bring it back to Bobby Brown. 4 a.m. Can you stand the rain? Waiting for the bus.
I'm pretty sure that's on one of our IG stories. Yeah, check out our IG stories for that rendition. That was special.
That was very special.
That was special. I'll just say simply
Kevin
that
was Ralph.
Woody's, yeah, Woody's. Shout out to Woody's. Shout out to the Juice Man.
man,
We
the Juice
didn't
Man.
hit the Juice
Outlet.
Man nearly enough. Outlet is what it's called.
yeah.
Listen, if you got a chance, go online, Google Owl, like the hoo-hoo. Outlet, OWLET. That juice is some of the best juice.
How many ingredients does it have, Ken?
One. Apple. It's just juice. Yeah, and walk to walk.
Man, listen.
Save your life at 4 a.m.
Ah.
And you can't do stay in the rain if you don't have walk to walk.
Well, London was great. Again, I always enjoy the trip because it just, as I've said before, it just reassures me, it reassures us as a unit that we are on the right path, we're doing the right thing, and we are looking to take what we do to the next level, and we're actively talking about getting over there for the Super Bowl. We're going to meet up with our UK ambassador, Ambassador Ryan, who we miss, but his dad
held it down.
His dad held it down. Great guy.
Great guy.
And we're going to get over there to Leeds because apparently there is a huge casino in the middle of town in Leeds where they actually live. That's where everyone goes to watch NFL games. And what he's saying to us is that we need to get over there and actually do a live show. So we're going to try to bring 32 Kings Road to the UK in an official way for the Super Bowl. That's what we're looking to do next. But we felt it was important to do this recap show. I'm glad we did. It was a lot of fun. Check out our social media, particularly our Instagram and our Twitter, because we will be uploading footage from some of the moments that we've talked about during our time over there.
With links to our YouTube.
With links to our YouTube as well. You can go to our YouTube channel, League Ambassadors. Shout out to the Leeds fan club. Shout out to Mr. Tony Husband. Shout out to the two Davids from the NFL UK, David Tossell, as well as young David that's in charge of the social media. Shout out to the distillery. And again, to our videographer, photographer, Chauncey Ken for the win. It's his IG. Look him up. Yeah. Anything else, guys, before we get out of here?
I think that was it.
Shortage. And next time that the League Ambassadors go out there, we need to put hands on people. I'm just going to say that.
What was you going to say, Kev?
We gave enough passes.
I just wanted to remind everyone, in case they forgot, that less is always more.
And on that note, we will see you on Tuesday. Back to our regularly scheduled show. Enjoy the weekend. Cheerio.
7 names, no games as I run it down the line. We got Kenny Ken put 100 on the tees with the streak for the cash. He ESPN. Seth Curry with the shot. The prodigy. In reality, he's more like Seth, but he's all we got. Up next is Gentleman Jack, better known as Junior Blue. We told him not to do it anyway, but he did what he do. To his right is Devin, that dude, L-Dad or Dirt Ass Dan. Just don't ask him a question, cause then he'll answer your question with another question, and then he'll add another question on top of that question. Damn. And I'm Red O, the Buck Wild Problem Child.
Flow Butter, aka John Cutter.
It's the league ambassadors, and we playing to win at the 2-yard line. And make no mistake, we running it in.